If you have ever clicked on a headline that says, "Cancer dies when you eat certain foods," let me say something important right at the beginning. No single food kills cancer on command. No berry, no tea, no spice, no vegetable flips a magical switch and makes a tumor disappear overnight. And honestly, that is exactly why this conversation matters so much. Because when you strip away the hype, the fear, and the miracle cure language, what you are left with is something far more powerful and believable. You are left with the fact that your body has built-in defense systems working every single day to repair DNA, control inflammation, regulate hormones, support your immune system, and help shut down conditions that allow dangerous cells to grow unchecked. And the food you eat every day can either help those systems do their job or quietly work against them. That is the real secret. Not magic, not hype, not false promises, but daily biology. And once you understand that, your kitchen starts to look very different. Because some foods do not just feed you, they influence insulin, body fat, chronic inflammation, the gut microbiome, oxidative stress, and the blood vessel signals abnormal cells may try to use. They influence whether your internal environment becomes more protective or more vulnerable over the years. That means this is not just about one disease. This is about the terrain inside your body. Researchers have known for years that tiny abnormal cell clusters can appear in the body without ever becoming dangerous. The critical question is not just whether abnormal cells appear. The critical question is what kind of environment they find when they do. Do they find constant inflammation, excess body fat, unstable blood sugar, processed meat, alcohol, and a diet built on ultra-processed calories? Or do they find fiber, phytochemicals, healthier weight regulation, calmer blood sugar, and the kinds of compounds scientists keep studying for their protective effects? That is the difference we are talking about today. And if you or someone you love is already facing cancer, this matters in a responsible way too. Food can support the body, support overall health, and support metabolic stability, but food does not replace proper medical care. That is exactly why honest advice matters more than dramatic advice. The most respected cancer organizations do not say that one food prevents cancer. They keep pointing back to a pattern: more whole plant foods, more fiber, more color, less processed meat, less alcohol, less sugar-loaded ultra-processed food, and a body weight that stays in a healthier range over time. American Cancer Society, AICR, National Cancer Institute. So, in this video, I am going to give you 12 foods that keep appearing in evidence-based conversations about lower cancer risk, stronger metabolic health, lower inflammation, and better protection for the body's natural defense systems. But I am also going to give you the truth that makes this trustworthy. These foods are not chemotherapy, they are not a cure, and they are not a guarantee. What they are is a smarter pattern, a more protective pattern, and a pattern that major experts, physicians, and cancer institutions keep returning to again and again. Let's start with cruciferous vegetables, especially broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, bok choy, and cabbage. These vegetables come up again and again for a reason. They contain natural compounds scientists have studied for possible anti-cancer effects, and even when researchers are careful not to overpromise, these vegetables still keep showing up in the most credible discussions because they are nutrient-dense, fiber-rich, low in calories, and deeply aligned with the kind of dietary pattern associated with lower long-term risk. They support fiber intake, help with fullness, and help with weight control because they give volume without packing in excess calories. Healthy body weight matters more than most people realize. Excess body fat is linked to multiple cancers, which is why experts keep saying cancer prevention is not just about one chemical in one food. It is also about the metabolic environment created by your everyday diet. So stop thinking of broccoli as a punishment food and start thinking of it as a foundation food. Roast it with olive oil, chop it into soups, add cabbage to stir fries, and use cauliflower in bowls. The goal is not perfection. The goal is repeat exposure. American Cancer Society, National Cancer Institute. Then come berries, blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. They are small, but nutritionally, they punch far above their size. They deliver fiber and a wide range of polyphenols and pigments that researchers study because of their antioxidant and anti-inflammatory actions. Some physician researchers often use berries as an example of foods that may support the body's defense systems, including pathways related to blood vessel growth and the internal conditions that help dangerous cells thrive or struggle. But this is where responsible language matters. Saying berries are being studied for protective compounds is not the same as saying berries cure cancer. What makes them impressive is that they fit almost every rule experts agree on. They are plant-based, high in fiber, help replace processed desserts, and support blood sugar control better than many sugary snacks. And when you use them as part of a whole food diet, they help move your overall eating pattern in a direction associated with lower long-term risk. Then there are beans and lentils, one of the most underrated food groups in cancer prevention conversations. Beans, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, soybeans, split peas. These are nutritional workhorses. They deliver fiber, plant protein, minerals, and a slower, steadier effect on blood sugar than many refined carbohydrate foods. Fiber helps support a healthier gut microbiome, improve fullness, help with weight management, and crowd out less helpful foods. From a practical perspective, beans are one of the most efficient swaps you can make if you are trying to cut back on processed meat and red meat, which major health organizations consistently recommend limiting. A bowl of lentil soup, chickpeas in a salad, black beans in tacos, hummus with vegetables, these are not trendy tricks. They are repeatable food habits that pull your entire diet in a better direction. Harvard nutrition source AICR Dr. William Lee, whole grains deserve respect too, even if they do not get flashy headlines. Oats, brown rice, quinoa, barley, whole wheat, wild rice. What makes whole grains valuable is not just one nutrient, but the package. Fiber, vitamins, minerals, slower digestion, greater satiety, and less reliance on refined grains that make diets easier to overeat. A lot of protection comes from foods that stabilize the basics like blood sugar, fullness, body weight, digestion, gut health, and hormonal balance. When those basics improve, risk often improves with them. Tomatoes matter for similar reasons. They show up again and again in evidence-based discussions, and one major reason is lycopene, the red carotenoid pigment that has been widely studied for possible protective effects. But what makes tomatoes especially useful is how easy they are to use. This is not a rare supplement hidden in a specialty store. This is pasta sauce without the sugar overload, chopped tomato in salad, and cooked tomato with olive oil. Garlic and onions matter too. They are not glamorous, but they make healthy food taste better, and that alone makes them more valuable than most supplements people waste money on. At the cellular level, they contain sulfur compounds and other bioactive substances that researchers continue to investigate. But in real life, what matters is that they make it easier to cook vegetables, beans, soups, sauces, and home meals that beat ultra-processed alternatives. That is the bigger story. The most protective diet is often the one that makes real food delicious enough to become automatic. American Cancer Society, MD Anderson, leafy greens belong on this list as well. Spinach, romaine, kale, darker lettuces, mixed greens, Swiss chard. These foods bring folate, carotenoids, minerals, fiber, and volume with very few calories. And this is exactly why people underestimate them. Greens do not feel dramatic, but in prevention, the dramatic thing is often the cumulative effect of boring excellence. A large salad that displaces fries, spinach added to breakfast instead of processed meat, greens added to soup, bowls, sandwiches, stews, and smoothies. These are quiet decisions that change nutrient density and calorie balance over time. Soy foods in their minimally processed forms also deserve a place here. Soy is one of the most misunderstood foods in health discussions, but traditional soy foods like edamame, tofu, tempeh, and unsweetened soy products can be a useful part of a plant-forward diet. The important phrase is minimally processed forms. Not every imitation product marketed as plant-based deserves a health halo, but traditional soy foods can be helpful because they bring protein, fiber in some forms, and an easy way to shift meals away from more harmful defaults. Nuts and seeds matter too. Nuts and seeds. They provide healthier fats, minerals, fiber, and satisfying texture that can help make whole food meals more sustainable. And sustainability matters because if a healthier diet leaves you hungry, deprived, and constantly craving ultra-processed food, you will not stay with it. A handful of walnuts, pumpkin seeds on salad, chia in oats, ground flax mixed into yogurt or oatmeal, these small additions make good eating more satisfying. MD Anderson, American Cancer Society. Fatty fish can also fit into a better pattern. Most cancer prevention guidance strongly emphasizes plant foods, but it does not require a person to be fully plant-based. A healthier eating pattern can still include better protein choices, and fatty fish matters because prevention is not just about one pathway. It is about the whole environment. Replacing processed meat with salmon, sardines, trout, or other healthier proteins changes fat quality, changes calorie quality, and often improves the overall nutrient profile of a meal. Then there is green tea, one of those foods and beverages that attracts huge interest because it contains catechins and other compounds researchers have studied extensively. Again, a cup of green tea is not a treatment for cancer, but choosing unsweetened tea over sugar-loaded beverages is a meaningful shift. You lower added sugar, avoid liquid calories that can push weight gain, and add a beverage rich in biologically interesting plant compounds. Coffee, when tolerated and kept simple, also belongs in this broader conversation. The point is not that everyone must drink coffee. The point is that context changes everything. A plain coffee is not the same as a dessert in a cup loaded with sugar, syrup, cream, and excess calories. If coffee works for you, the version matters. If it hurts your sleep, worsens anxiety, or upsets your stomach, then it is not the right tool for you. But if it fits your body well, a simple coffee is a very different health decision from a giant sugar bomb disguised as a beverage. MD Anderson. Dr. William Lee Now. The real power is not in treating these 12 foods like 12 heroes and everything else like it does not matter. The deeper lesson is that major experts keep coming back to the same pattern. More plants, more fiber, more whole foods, more variety, more color, more meals cooked from recognizable ingredients, less processed meat, less red meat, less alcohol, less sugar-sweetened drinks, and less ultra-processed food that makes it easy to overeat and gain weight. That is the pattern. And if you want to know why this pattern matters so much, there are 4 hidden mechanisms most people never think about. The first is weight regulation. Excess body fat is not just passive storage. Fat tissue is biologically active. It affects hormones, influences inflammation, can alter insulin signaling, and can create conditions that are more favorable for disease. The second is inflammation. Short-term inflammation helps you heal, but chronic low-grade inflammation is different. It is like background static your body never fully escapes. The third is blood sugar and insulin control. A diet built on refined starches, sugary drinks, and ultra-processed snacks pushes your body in one direction, while a diet built on fiber, healthier proteins, and less liquid sugar pushes it in another. The fourth is food synergy. Real meals are not chemistry experiments with one variable. They are networks of fiber, fats, vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, and phytochemicals interacting together. That is one reason serious experts warn against reducing health to supplements. Instead of asking, what is the one food that kills cancer, ask a far better question. What does my weekly pattern tell my body to expect? Does it tell your body to expect fiber, stable energy, colorful produce, fewer processed meats, and less alcohol? Or does it tell your body to expect drive-through meals, charred processed meat, constant sugar, late-night drinking, and almost no protective plant intake at all? That is the question that changes lives. American Cancer Society, National Cancer Institute, Harvard Nutrition Source. And because we are being honest here, we also need to talk about the foods and habits that quietly raise risk. Processed meat is one of the clearest examples. Bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, many cured meats. This is not internet drama. Major health authorities have repeatedly warned about the link between processed meat and higher colorectal cancer risk. Red meat is also something most experts recommend limiting. Alcohol is another one people underestimate. A lot of health content tries to blur this point, but the more honest evidence is clear. Alcohol raises cancer risk. Then there is the ultra-processed food trap. Not because every packaged item is automatically dangerous, but because diets built around heavily processed, energy-dense foods make healthy weight, good fiber intake, and steady eating much harder to maintain. That is why serious guidelines focus on patterns instead of isolated villains. If you wanted to build a day of eating that actually reflects strong cancer prevention advice, it could be surprisingly simple. Breakfast could be oats with berries, chia seeds, and a handful of walnuts with green tea or simple coffee. Lunch could be a large salad or grain bowl with leafy greens, tomatoes, chickpeas, or lentils, olive oil, garlic, onions, and maybe some salmon or tofu. Dinner could be roasted broccoli or Brussels sprouts, a serving of beans or fish, brown rice or quinoa, and a side of cooked tomatoes or a tomato-based sauce. Snack choices could be fruit, nuts, hummus, edamame, or plain yogurt with berries if that works for you. Do you see what is happening there? No miracle powder, no insane detox, no starvation diet, no theatrical cleanse, just a pattern that keeps stacking advantages. American Cancer Society, National Cancer Institute. And that is what authentic health information usually looks like. It sounds less dramatic than clickbait, but it works better because it is believable, sustainable, and grounded in what serious experts actually say. So here is the most important mindset shift of all. Stop asking what food defeats cancer. Start asking what diet makes your body a harder place for disease to thrive. Those are completely different questions. The first question chases a fantasy. The second question builds a life. Because your risk is not shaped by one lunch. It is shaped by your defaults, your groceries, your restaurant habits, your snacks, your beverages, your weekend choices, your weight trend over the years, and your consistency when nobody is watching. And if that sounds intimidating, it should actually feel freeing, because it means you do not need perfection. You need direction. You do not need to eat all 12 foods every day. You need to make sure your overall pattern keeps bending toward whole, plant-forward, fiber-rich, minimally processed choices more often than not. You do not need fear. You need repetition. And you do not need to believe in miracle cures. You need to respect biology. The most trustworthy experts all land in roughly the same place. Eat more vegetables, fruits, beans, and whole grains, limit processed meat, cut back on red meat, avoid or limit alcohol, watch ultra-processed foods and sugar-sweetened drinks, manage body weight, and make your daily pattern protective. That is not flashy, but it is powerful. And maybe that is the biggest secret of all. Real prevention rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It feels ordinary. A bowl of beans instead of processed meat, broccoli beside dinner instead of fries, berries instead of a packaged dessert, tea instead of soda, a grocery cart filled with foods that still look like they came from the earth. Small choices, repeated often, powerful over time. AICR Harvard Nutrition Source. So if you want the honest version of this title, here it is. Cancer does not simply die because you eat one perfect food, but your body becomes stronger, smarter, and more protected when your daily diet consistently includes the kinds of foods that leading cancer researchers, physicians, and major health institutions keep recommending. And that may be less sensational than a miracle claim, but it is far more useful because it gives you something real, something tested, and something you can start doing today. Put cruciferous vegetables in your meals, bring back beans, choose whole grains, use tomatoes often, cook with garlic and onions, eat more leafy greens, use real soy foods if they work for you, add nuts and seeds, swap in fish when appropriate, choose green tea, keep coffee smart, build meals around plants, and limit the foods that experts keep warning about. That is how you stop chasing headlines and start building a body that has more of what it needs to defend itself. Not overnight, not magically, but powerfully, and often enough to matter. And when you do that for years, not days, you are no longer eating for entertainment alone. You are eating with strategy, eating with credibility, and eating in a way that many of the world's most respected doctors, researchers, and cancer institutions would recognize as deeply sensible. That is the kind of health advice people can trust, and that is the kind of advice worth acting on. American Cancer Society, MD, Anderson National Cancer Institute.